Good morning, everyone. My name is Rabbi Director of Pastoral Care here at Gurwin Jewish Nursing and Rehab. I hope everyone had a wonderful week. As we get closer to preparing for the Jewish New Year, Rosh Hashanah, we'll discuss today a little more about Rosh Hashanah. We'll have a little bit of a shofar demonstration, explain a little bit about that commandment, and of course we will continue our custom to sing the Shabbat songs as Shabbat enters this evening at approximately 6:45. Shalom Aleichem Malachei Ashores Malachei Elyon Mi Melech Malachei Amlochim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shalom Aleichem Malachei Ashores Malachei Mi Melech Malchei Hamlochim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shalom Aleichem Malachei Ashores Malachei Elyon Mi Melech Malchei Hamlochim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shalom Aleichem Malachei Ashores Malachei Elyon Mi Melech Malchei Amlochim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Boachem L'Shalom Malachei Ashalom Malachei Elyon Mi Melech Malchei Amlochim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Boachem L'Shalom Malachei Ashalom Malachei Elyon Mi Melech Malchei Amlochim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Baruch Hu L'Shalom Malachei Ashalom Malachei Elyon Mi Melech Malchei Amlochim Kadosh Baruch Hu Baruch Hu L'Shalom Malachei Ashalom Malachei Elyon Mi Melech Malchei Amlochim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Baruch Hu L'Shalom Malachei Ashalom Malachei Elyon Mi Melech Malchei Amlochim Kadosh Baruch Hu Teizchem L'Shalom Malachei Ashalom Malachei Elyon Mi Melech Malchei Amlochim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Teizchem L'Shalom Malachei Ashalom Malachei Elyon Mi Melech Malchei Amlochim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Teizchem L'Shalom Malachei Ashalom Malachei Elyon Mi Melech Malchei Amlochim Kadosh Baruch Hu. As mentioned a few minutes ago, I would like to discuss this morning about the mitzvah, the commandment of blowing the shofar. The real commandment takes place, on the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah. I want to give a little background to it and a little introduction to this wonderful, wonderful mitzvah that we do every single year. So the shofar is nice and polished over here, nice and cut smoothly, but really it comes from the horn of a ram or other kosher animal. Imagine you have two of them on each side, a ram's horn. And there's a few reasons why we use the horn of a ram. One of them is to remember the sacrifice that Abraham brought in place of his son Isaac Abraham was commanded by God to sacrifice his son Isaac. And although Abraham did not understand why that would possibly be to slaughter his only son for God, but he said, if God asks me to do so, I will. And right at the moment before he was about to sacrifice his son, God called out to him and said, please don't do it. Well, you've shown me how much you want to listen to my commandments. And instead, a ram was waiting there, and that ram was slaughtered as a sacrifice in place of his son. And this was a tremendous act of allegiance that Abraham had. So we tell God every year to remember us, remember the children of Abraham, remember how our forefather was willing to give up so much just for you. And when God remembers this, he bestows mercy on the people, on the children of Israel, because of the wonderful act that Abraham did. So we try to recall God's mercy in all of us. When we blow the shofar, we remember God's mercy. God invokes his mercy on all of us. So we take the horn of a kosher animal, the horn of a ram, and we make sounds from it. What are the sounds that we make, and why do we make those sounds? So the first sound we make is a sound of a tekiah. A tekiah means a long sound. And then we make short sounds, different versions of shorter sounds, medium sounds and very short ones. And then we blow another long tekiah at the end. It would sound something like this. Tekiah. Then we have the trua, or the shvarim trua, which is a series of shorter sounds. And then we follow by another long tekiah. These are the sounds of the shofar we blow in Rosh Hashanah. And we'll continue to discuss that in a few minutes after we sing L'chadodi, welcoming the Shabbos Queen. L'chadodi l'kras kala pnei Shabbos nekabela. L'chadodi l'kras kala pnei Shabbos nekabela. Shamo v'zachar v'dibur echad ishmiyanu kelam yuchad Hashem echad u'shmo yechad Shemo seferet v'lesila l'chadodi l'kras kala pnei Shabbos nekabela l'kras Shabbos l'chuk v'nelcha Ki mekor avirocha meirosh mikedem nesucha Tov ma'aseh b'machshavot chila l'chadodi l'kras kala pnei Shabbos nekabela Mikdash melech ir melucha Kol mitzi mitoch ha'hafechor alach sheves v'yimagabocha Hu yachamol ola yechem la l'chadodi l'kras kala pnei Shabbos nekabela Histari me'afar kumi Lev shibigdei sefartecha mi al yabeni shai beis halachmi Harvo el nafshi giyahala l'chadodi l'kras kala pnei Shabbos nekabela Hisoriri ki v'orech kumi yori Behiri kavod Hashem La yichnig la l'chadodi l'kras kala Pnei Shabbos nekabela Lo sei voshi v'lo si kol mi Mahatish dochachi umatami v'hog yaksu Ani yehami v'niv nisa Ir al tila l'chadodi l'kras lekras kala. Pnei Shabbos nekabela. Hayu limshisa shahosayich. V'rachaku kol mevahalayich. Yasis alayich Eloikayich. Kim soisvas anal kala lecha dodi lekras kala. Pnei Shabbos nekabela. Bawi b'shalom. Teres ba'ala gamberina v'zahala. Tochem yam segula v'ikala. V'ikala lecha dodi lekras kala. Pnei Shabbos nekabela. So we have the sounds of the shofar, the long ones and the short ones and the long one again. So why is that? So the beautiful explanation I would love to share with everyone this morning. You know, Rosh Hashanah is a time about change, about time when we tell God that we want a sweet new year, and because we are going to have a better year. Mistakes that we have made, we feel sorry for, we regret them, and we want to make sure they don't happen again. But we know that in reality, sometimes in life mistakes happen. So how do we show this to God? How do we represent this fact to God that even though we've made mistakes, we want to correct ourselves? So we use the shofar to represent this. We start out blowing a long sound, the tekiah, to show God that when we were created, when we were born, we were perfect. No child sins. A little baby doesn't do wrong. He's just there in his perfection. And yet as we get older, we go through life, we make mistakes. We're broken to some extent. Sometimes they're bigger mistakes. Sometimes they're smaller mistakes. This is represented by the broken sounds of the shofar. Some are a little longer, some are shorter. But the bottom line is that we have mistakes that we make. But at the end of the day, we know we want to be perfect again. We want to try our best to go back to where we were when we were born. The perfection of a child, the beauty of a child. So we end with a long shofar sound, showing that once again, we want to have the inspiration to be perfect. And although we do know that mistakes will happen, but as long as we have our mindset that we want to be perfect, we want to do our best in every situation, and even when we're not always successful, but God knows where our heart is, and as long as our heart is in the right place, God will grant us a sweet new year. Adon olam asher malach b'terem kol yetzir nivra li'es nasa chefso kol azay melech shemo nikra v'yacharei keklos hakol levahada yimloch nora v'hu haya v'hu hoveh v'hu yiyeh b'sifara v'hu echad v'yein sheni l'hamshila l'hachbira v'li reishis v'li sachlis v'lo ha'oz v'hamisra v'hu keli v'chai goali v'zor chavli v'yez nasa v'hu nisi umanosli minas gosi v'yom ekra v'yahado of kidruchi v'yez ishan v'yahira v'yemruchi giviyasi ado shehem li v'lo ira. Have a happy and healthy Shabbat, great weekend, and we'll see everybody next.